Hey everybody, welcome to Badass Mining Company. I'm Sean and this is Tan.
Hello. I'm not in the bedroom today.
She's not in the bedroom today. So, she's in her pajamas, she said. So, anyway, we're having a special update today since we didn't have one on Sunday. Our connections were being messed with big time. Obviously, I left the video up just so that people could understand what we were having to deal with on Sunday, and I think I fixed the problem, hopefully, but I won't know that until playback. So we won't be able to see your comments. We won't be able to see who's on. I had to turn all that stuff off so that we could have a more solid connection, because what we need to talk about is very, very important. So let's go ahead and start the show off right. This is March 3rd, 2020, and we're going to go ahead and look up the gold price first. Gold price has been doing crazy things all day long, starting at about 10 o'clock this morning, Pacific time. Gold is back up to $1,644.60 an ounce. That means that it went up approximately, looks like about 60, almost $70 today. I don't have the silver prices in front of me right now. Oh, yes, I do, right here. No, I don't. I thought I did. Well, I'm not using the app right now. I'm using their actual website because I couldn't get the app to pull up the data for some reason. But here is what's going on with gold, guys, and precious metals in general. Is the Fed dropped the interest rates today, and it caused a little bit of a hiccup as far as with the dollar. So, stocks are still plummeting like crazy. People are playing this lull in the precious metal market to their benefit, which I highly recommend. Make a few bucks off of this while you can. It's probably going to be at least a month before we're able to judge how bad this is hitting the economy. This is the first time that our stock market has ever been actually affected like this from any type of illness. Even during H1N1, it barely even dipped because of it. So this is something that's very serious, and there's some other trends that are happening that I really feel it necessary to talk to you guys about. And first of all, I want to start this whole thing off by explaining to you, this is not something to live in fear over. This is not something to be scared of. You should be no more worried about getting this than a cold or the flu. But what you do need to remember is that this, unlike a cold or a flu, has a very high mortality rate the older that you get. So, if you are exposed to it and you don't come down with it, you can still carry it, and somebody that is older can actually be affected very badly because of it. Now, a lot of this panic that's going on right now in Washington State, it's overreactions, but there's been a lot of people that have come in contact with this virus, and they've not reported accurate numbers. And I think that was fairly obvious over the weekend. CDC knew there was at least 1,000 people that were not being tracked that were inside of the U.S. that they had tested positive, but the results didn't come back in time and they lost track of where they went. Well, now we're figuring out where they went. If you look at the infection maps, um, it's it's going to go up and down the I-5 corridor fairly quickly. The homeless population are going to be hit pretty hard, which means it is going to be pretty much everywhere the public is. Again, it's not something you need to be scared of, but you do need to be made aware of it, and you need to have supplies on hand because, as I said on Saturday, toilet paper is scarce, folks. And I guarantee toilet paper is one of those things that if one store's out, you're going to keep driving until you get to a store that's not. And that means that anybody that's living out in the boonies or anywhere that's not being infected right now, those people are coming to your town to get supplies. And they're not buying just what supplies they need. It's like they're buying supplies to last them for the rest of their lives. So there's not a whole lot left when this horde of locusts comes through. So if you want to be safe and keep your family safe, go get your isopropyl alcohol while you can. Get your toilet paper while you can. Get your cleaning products while you can. Make sure to get at least a month's worth of food because we don't know how long this is going to go. We're going to find out here within 2 weeks the direction that they want to travel with this because we have spring break coming up. Now, the one thing that I guarantee, if the public is panicked enough, they're going to restrict travel for spring break. I guarantee it. They're already talking about this and how they would do it without freaking the public out more. But there's no way to do it without freaking the public out more. So they're hoping that people impose themselves in quarantines and they just refuse to get around public venues. We're not going to the GPAA Gold Show because we already know it's going to be canceled. Okay, it's a no-brainer. Any public events that gather over 1,000 people, they will be shut down. I guarantee it because that is their protocol.
And if they don't do it, they're stupid.
Yeah, and right now, the officials that are in charge right now, they all have to report to the vice president. We all know this, okay? Mike Pence was put in charge of this pandemic. Now, the reason why he was put in charge, guys, is because the White House is maintaining control of all information about this illness coming out. They wanted a lockdown like H1N1 got during Obama's administration. However, before anybody even started talking about it, there was like 1 million people infected and there was like 10,000 people that died. So, hopefully it won't get to that. Hopefully we'll nip it in the bud this time. But so far, people are really not behaving well and they're overreacting. There's some things going on that really should make people upset over the fact that the World Health Organization not calling this a pandemic yet. We hit the numbers already. A pandemic is a disease that is spread throughout the world. This is already spread throughout the world. There are numbers coming in from all over the place. So it is a pandemic. And the numbers, even though they're small right now, because there's like 100,000 people that have been infected, that's really not very many. But those are only the ones that have been absolutely confirmed. Okay? Most people that are coming down with it right now think, and they get those numbers until there's a body count, which that's what's happening right now. Now, the thing that everybody should be really upset about this over is the fact that they're not calling it a pandemic, because the World Bank issued these things called catastrophe bonds. Now, what that means is if nothing major happens in the world that's a catastrophe, then these bonds will mature in June. If they call this a pandemic right now, these bonds will not mature and they go back to their original values. This is a money call. This is putting money over people. We're doing the same thing in the US right now. There's things being done and said to try to save the economy. Yes, the economy is very important to save, but our population is more important. Our government seems to forget this pretty often. So, make sure to watch your backs. Make sure to wash your backs. Make sure to wash your fronts. Make sure to wash. Okay? Isopropyl alcohol, anything over 60%. It has to be over 60%, or else it won't work. Okay? That is the surefire way from what I've heard. And the 90% or above is just phenomenal for killing this. So, make sure to do that. Clorox wipes. Do not, and I know if you guys, I know that this is the time to where you start cleaning everything that comes in close proximity to your face. Don't wipe your phone down with Clorox. Don't use cleaning products on them. They will destroy your phone. Use rubbing alcohol over 60%. Okay, rubbing alcohol will not destroy your device. It won't take any of the coatings off of your screen. It won't do anything the same way that Clorox or bleach will. So, use alcohol only on your devices. Period. Okay.
So I'm going to add.
Yeah, go ahead. I've talked long enough.
Take a pen or take a pencil, whatever you want to do, stick it in your pocket. So anytime that you have to go to the AMT or the ATM, or you're having to put your card into the machine in order to pay for something, do not touch the keypad unless you have a pen or a pencil that you can turn around and hit the numbers with.
Yeah, go pick up a cheap stylus. They've got styluses for $1 at the dollar store. Go pick up a stylus. Use something other than your fingers or your hands to touch things. Because there's gross people out there and you've seen them.
The other thing too is I know a lot of us ladies have long fingernails. Don't use your fingernails to punch the buttons in. Because the first thing you're going to do is put it on your face and do this or whatever you're going to do. Just don't do it. Get yourself, like you said, a stylus, or go get yourself a pencil. The stylus is nice because you can always wash it down with bleach or alcohol. The pencil, on the other hand, no, you're not going to be able to do that unless you're using the pencil end of it, and I always use the eraser. So just keep in mind, ladies, don't use your fingernails to put on the pad. You're not safe. It's not safe.
Absolutely. Okay, so what I've got right now is updated numbers for infection rate, and I want to explain something in doing this. because the one thing that I noticed when they give mortality rates, they were giving mortality rates across the entire demographic. That doesn't work because there have been no deaths under 10. So 10 years and younger should be wiped out of the demographics, period. That brings the mortality rate up a lot higher because we're only at that point counting the actual people that are infected instead of the entire demographic, the people that aren't infected but they have the virus, and the people that actually are infected by the virus. I know it's confusing, but that's why the numbers are so wonky, is because they're doing it on purpose. They're making it a numbers game that's very confusing, and there's a few channels that are on YouTube that if you go and you watch them, they kind of they explain things so that you understand a little bit better. I know that Defango has been doing daily coronavirus updates. So far, as far as
awesome job.
yeah, as far as investigator, he has actually been nailing the information down a lot more solidly than even the doctors that have been investigating it, because they don't want to say too much. And I've noticed that when it comes to actually putting the information out, like 3 weeks ago, I was talking about this virus having the HIV envelope. And now it's just starting to come out. In fact, one of the generals in China today called it a bioweapon. So, stuff that we already called this on. Adam over at Marfugal, he's been calling this stuff ever since it started as well. But right now, yeah, I'll be passing on where I get my information. There's a lot of stuff that has come out of 4chan from Anonymous that they've been releasing numbers, obviously. Um, we've been using the World Monitor trackers. We've been doing a whole bunch of stuff. We've been the researchers that are talking about it at Johns Hopkins. They're they're trying to be as forthcoming as possible, but I have an issue with Johns Hopkins, considering that they did the drill back in August of last year for coronavirus, and then 2 months later it pops up. So, highly suspicious. So, here's the numbers as of right now. There's 27 confirmed cases in Washington State, including the 9 deaths. Yes, that is up to 9 deaths in Washington State. There's 20 confirmed cases in California. There's 4 in Illinois, 3 in Florida, 3 in Oregon, 2 in Arizona, 2 in Georgia, 2 in Massachusetts, 2 in New York, 2 in Rhode Island, 1 in New Hampshire, 1 in North Carolina, and 1 in Wisconsin. Now, I saw a lot of people that were poking fun at the low numbers. Okay, what you're not getting is the fact we're in the middle of flu season. Okay, most of the people that think they have the flu that have come in contact with this probably don't just have the flu. Now, I've also heard a lot of crap coming up about, oh, there's 4 strains of flu. That's all this is. No, that's not all this is. This is a controlled release. They've already proven this, and there are several people that have no connections to anybody from China that have come down with it. So, there are several pieces of evidence that say this has already been spread. Okay? Now, people are just starting to come down with it, that doesn't mean anything at all. Not even a little bit, because there's one case, they've been in contact with a lot of people. This takes a long time to come to the surface to where people have symptoms. And a lot of times they don't even have symptoms. So by minimizing this right out of the gate, what you're doing is you're creating misinformation that may end up getting people killed. Instead of being careful, and if this whole thing, I have 0% in me that says this is a hoax, but let's just say that this whole thing is a hoax and this is just the flu. Well, if you've just done things like bought some extra toilet paper and bought some more cleaning products and bought some extra supplies and nothing happens and this whole thing is a hoax, then hey, it's a win-win situation. If it ends up being the truth and you just didn't step up and do what you needed to do, and then you find out too late, wow, this isn't a hoax, it's not exactly a win-win situation anymore, is it? So, you know, it's a lot better for you and everybody around you if you just act like this is real and actually do things like cover your mouth when you cough. Okay, wash your hands, wash your face, stay away from public, stay away from groups of people. The other thing that I wanted to talk about real quick is the fact that I'm going to revisit this one because children under 10 haven't seemed to get infected. Now, this doesn't mean that they're not little petri dishes still. It just means that they're not affected by this infection. So, these kids don't exhibit any symptoms at all. Okay, that should tell you right there. And they play together and they congregate together, and those little monkeys never wash their hands unless they're forced to. So, try not to be in direct contact with large groups of kids. Make sure that your kids are constantly washed up, because that could be the largest spread of this. They're already talking about school closures. They've already closed a lot of schools because they've been finding positive. So
okay, so the first case in Washington that they found was a janitor who worked at a school. They don't know where he came from, where it came in contact with. He has no contact with anybody from Asia, and he came down with it.
You're talking about in Oregon, not Washington. That was in Oregon. That was Lake Oswego in Oregon. That wasn't Washington's first. That was Oregon's first.
Yeah, Lake Oswego is down the road from it.
Yep. Well, see, that's the I-5 corridor, so I mean, not directly. Yeah, that's 205, but it's right off of I-5. So.
Yeah. So you guys just be aware, be conscious, look at your surroundings, what's going on. You see somebody wear a mask, avoid them. It's about the best thing I can tell you, because that's the first clue that either they don't want to get it or they got it and they're out and out.
Or just follow Sean's rule. If you see somebody, mask or not, avoid them. That's Sean's number one rule. So, anyway, obviously this is not a normal show. The reason why I felt it was so important to come in here and do this update was because they can't hold back this information anymore, and they know it. So they're having a hard time keeping the algorithm keeping up on this. So I figured I had a very short window of opportunity to get this information out, because they're scrambling so hard right now to get the new algorithm up. So, yeah, this isn't, like I said, this isn't going to be a normal show. We're probably going to be cutting off here in about 5 minutes. We will be periodically jumping in and doing shows throughout the week at 6 o'clock. We'll let you know, like I did this last time, a couple days in advance. It won't always be on this stuff. I usually do this sort of stuff on another channel. This channel is more about mining, but since it is affecting gold prices, I felt that we should talk about it. And if you are planning on going mining, then you should probably really be prepared to go camping, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah, have some fun.
yeah,
Go out and enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the.
yeah. Don't
get the kids off the computer.
don't do this because
Put a
you're
pen in
scared.
their
Go
hands.
do this. Go do this because you know that you can get some gold out of the deal.
Yeah. So just just all we want you to do is to be aware of what's going on. And I always tell you at the end of every one, be aware of your surroundings. That's the big thing, and everybody should be aware of their surroundings.
Absolutely.
We live in a big city, you know, and I'm always cautious about things. Like yesterday when I went to McDonald's with Ken, and there was a guy standing out in the middle of the street screaming at his phone, and I was like, yeah, this is a person I want to avoid.
But I wasn't there. I thought I was the only one that
No,
stood in the middle of the street and screamed at his phone.
I don't know who he was talking to. He was just yelling at him not to come over, and I was like, okay, I'm not. I'm not. I'm standing far from you. I'm here. You talk loud over there. But yeah, it was because we had to do a computer run. That's the reason why I went.
Oh, wait a minute. Am I hearing another member of the badass crew?
Yes, that Sammy.
Yeah, she is not getting away with not making a public appearance. So why don't you introduce?
She's not getting away.
Why don't you introduce our badass mining crew member?
Yes. This is Sammy. Sammy is one of my best friends, and she and her husband are part of the crew, and we are trouble. We're trouble together.
Okay, so anyway, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Do your thing.
You guys, I love you very much, and I want you to take care of yourselves. And so, as I have told you before, please just be aware of your surroundings. Pay attention to what's going on. Wash your hands constantly. Keep your face clean. You know, just take care of yourselves. I love you. And I'll talk to you later.
Alrighty, guys, as always, we love each and every one of you. You guys make sure to take care of yourselves and each other. And as always, we are out of here until Saturday night, p.m. Pacific time. Make sure to join us, will you? And we'll try to be a little bit less bleak. So, anyway, you guys take care, and we are out of here. Peace.